Welcome everyone. This is Sandy with Sandy's Palette. I'm also moderator with Junk Journaling World, our Facebook group. And I'm doing today the April monthly challenge. Again, this is a challenge. This is not a swap. The reason why I chose it to be a challenge was it was kind of inspired with Mother's Day coming up. And I thought that it means much more to a mother to receive something handmade by their own child. With a swap, you'd be swapping what you made with someone else. You'd be getting something that someone else made, and to give that to your mother and say someone else made it would not be as sentimental and as much value to your mother as if you made it yourself. So again, this is a challenge. You can choose to do it or not. Oh, well, I'm not going to spoil that surprise. That's something exciting coming up in the near future. And you'll find out about that pretty soon. So I don't want to give a spoiler away on that. But again, it is a challenge. So I saw someone had posted in a Facebook group that they had the Shabby Chic Lacy envelope that they made. And they were inspired by a trace of sprinkle. I did go out there and looked to see if they had a video, because I would have just used that. But they didn't. Not that I could find anyway. So I had to come up with my own method, and this was my prototype. And it opens up here. I was trying to stay away from having to use the Velcro, but yeah, it wasn't closing the way I wanted it to for what I'm going to show you in a minute. And then I used the tinier, smaller Velcro dots. They looked great. You could hardly tell they were there, but they didn't hold it down enough, right? So I had to go with a little bit bigger size. But what I did was I took a greeting card envelope. So you can either just do, if you have an envelope and just want to do the Shabby Chic decoration on it, and then maybe write a personal letter to your mother or something and put that inside, or put if you know, depending on the gift or whatever, if it's a gift card or something like that inside. The other thing is you could just put the greeting card. Now this is an Easter card, so I don't have my Mother's Day card bought yet. And then just put your greeting card in there. Or you could take it a step further, and the tutorial for this greeting card journal, we did this in Easter. And what we did was we took a greeting card, and I have the tutorial out there. It's under Easter greeting card journal. And I believe it was a swap. And you just make a journal out of it. And, of course, you leave your sentiments there. If you have sentiments on both sides, you wouldn't decorate this side. Anyway, I used a thick cord on this because, again, I was doing a tutorial. Wanted to show an example of the different options, like the tie over here. I wouldn't have done this intentionally, ties on both sides, just because for me personally, I wouldn't have cared for the way it looked, but again, it was for the purpose of the tutorial. Anyway, you could also take your greeting card, make a small journal out of it, and also fit that in. Now, the nice thing about this is if you are using a greeting card, you can use the envelope that comes with the greeting card to make this. So you know it's going to be the perfect size, okay? And then because I use that thick cord, oh, okay, we'll still hold with that bigger. That's where I was having a problem before, was that the smaller Velcro wasn't holding. Okay, so those are some ideas that you can use to even make it more special and something more sentimental. What's inside as well. Put pictures in there, write things to her. You know what I mean. Okay, so for those that do not like to measure, this is the perfect project for you. There's no measuring involved. You're going to use, or, you know, if you're not using it for a greeting card purpose or even just for storage, you know, any envelope will work. This is all made from scraps and scrap pieces of lace and that I had around. So I didn't have to buy anything special. And hopefully you won't have to either, depending on what you have and what you like. So here I used a couple appliques. This was some beading trim. This was a piece of lace that came up and down, and I filled all this in with remnants from the same lace. I did like it to hang over a little bit. The inside is totally lined with pattern paper, as well as the outside. And this was originally a white envelope, okay? And then I also took that same lace, because it did peek up and then went down, to come up here. But I used a cloth doily, not a paper doily, but not a real thick doily, okay? It was very thin, to put underneath this to cover where this, you know, scalloped like that, okay? And then I carried that, wrapped it over the back, and I have 4 different types of laces going on here. This was a shearer lace with some embroidery. This is, of course, the flapped over part. This here, this flower one here, I fit 2 flowers on there. And then there was this trim across here, was a strip of lace. And then I did another applique there. Okay, this will be a 2-part video. Reason being, there may be choices that you're going to make that you may not need to see the rest of part 1. Hopefully I can do this in just 2 parts without any technical errors or issues. So I'm going to try to keep watching. And oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make sure that glare is not going to show up. I purposely am using my and I'm going to get rid of these rulers. So they're just in the way right now. Because I'm using lots of glue. And I don't like using glue on my self-healing mat. It clumps it up. It's hard to clean off. With the glass mat, this is the Tim Holtz one. It wipes off, cleans off real easy, no matter what type of glue I'm using. And like I said, any size envelope works with this. So if you want to use one with the greeting card you bought, great. Okay. And I said there's no measuring involved. If your envelope's white and you don't want to have a total white background, okay, we're going to also paper the outside of this. If you have a colored envelope that comes with the card and you don't want to have to lay an additional piece of paper around the outside, you don't have to. And that's the point where I will tell you, go ahead and you can stop viewing here and go ahead on to part 2 where I kind of start decorating. Now, keep in mind, the decorating, you're not going to have the exact pieces. My pieces are scraps. It's just what I have. So I'm going to just go with, make some decisions. You know, I always audition, see what kind of looks best, and then go from there. So there's going to be a little bit of that going on. Not to bore you, but I kind of want to show you my thought process, what I kind of go through, and what I've pulled in preparation for that. You can use single-sided paper for this. Where is it? Right here. So for this one, I had a 12 by 12 piece of paper. Okay. And here, it's like this, okay? And then it cuts really easy for it. You can cut the whole thing. For this next one, I'm going to use 8 by 8 paper. So it's going to be a little bit different, and I'm just going to show you how you can have, you don't have to have 12 by 12. You could even do 8.5 by 11 and not have to cut. But at a certain point, like here, we have to cut this. Otherwise, it's going to bulk up and you're going to, it's not going to fold right or lay right for you, okay? And at that point, we can do the same on this side. No one's really going to see that seam, okay? So anyway, you can pick any pattern paper. The reason why I definitely want to line it at a minimum, line the inside, is because the weight of the lace and everything you have going on, and the paper, the thinness of an envelope, I don't know that it would really hold up without tearing or ripping, okay? Without adding some. Now, you don't have to use a heavyweight paper. I'm just saying that even with, this was, I ended up Xeroxing that just on regular copy paper because I wanted to see if it would be enough. And it was. It's sturdy. It's not going to fall apart for sure. Okay, so it doesn't even have to be thicker than copy paper. All right, so use what you have. So I'm going to set this one aside. And this time, this was white. I'm going to go with, I'm going to say like ivory or cream, off-white. You know, there's all kinds of variations, really kind of meaning the same thing. And the pattern paper I picked out, like I said, is 8 by 8. And again, I'm using scraps. So I have enough. I wanted to, again, go with the off-white and maybe some of my, like, yellow and peachy color flowers. I did have some that were, let's see, here's pink and purple. I have this with flowers and beads, which I did like, but again, I'm back to, it's a little bit too white for me, and I wanted to go with a little bit creamier. Now, mind you, no one's going to see this envelope color in the end if you go all the way through with it. If you don't want to decorate the outside of it, you don't have to. But I would definitely at least do the inside for some added support. And you also have this gum line here, right? You don't really want that. That's not really pretty. And we want to make this as pretty as we can. So, anyway, another trim that I was looking at. It was kind of nice. It had the cream here and the cream kind of peachy rose. But again, it was, oops, one of the flowers fell off. A little bit on the white side, and I wasn't sure if that was a little bit too much for this. So, yeah, so I have a couple other ones, and that's where I'll start to audition and see what's going to look best with it. So, let's get started on how to, and so I only had like 3 sheets of this to do the outside. So the inside, and it's from the same paper pad, I'm going to use this on my inside. Okay? And we're going to start with doing the inside. Excuse me. So that if you choose not to do any decoration on the outside with the paper, you don't have to. Just one thing to think about is, what put? Oh, here it is, my prototype. You know, there's spots where your paper is going to show. Now, again, this was a very, just different shades of pink flowers, right? Nothing real substantial. And again, there's always parts of your lace that are thin, that are like a netting or like tulle. And you may, in certain parts, want to actually use tulle. So you might want to do it just for the effect. And it does add even more sturdiness to it, okay? But again, your choice. You may not want to get that involved in the project. And let me check my time here. Okay. So I'm going to start first with doing the inside. And then we'll get to the outside. Now, if you're, well, I'll get to that part. If you're not going to do the outside, there's something that I do to the outside that you would want to do to the inside if you're not putting paper on the outside. And it's just a suggestion, but I think it's a very worthy one, okay? What you're going to need, make sure we do use Fabri-Tac, or whatever you use to put your lace on. Some use Fabri-Fix, but if you're not familiar with it, it's made by Beacon. Fabri-Tac, it really is the only thing that will keep lace adhered to paper, believe it or not. Lace comes off very easily. Glue stick, I do have Yoo-Hoo. Some people prefer that. If you do, go ahead and use that. I find it, for me, it has a tendency to, a couple of days later, my paper's peeling off. Pam at the Paper Outpost, I saw she recommended the Scotch Create. I give this a try, and I love it. It is fantastic. You actually, when you put it on, it's really like a layer of glue. And I've not had anything peel back up with it at all. So this is my new go-to. There is always, you know, this bottle's had some miles on it. Art glitter glue. When I'm dealing with a little bit thinner paper, especially like the envelope, I tend not to use this. I go more with the glue stick, only because I've had where I do the lines of applying the glue, right? And it doesn't really spread out that much. So the lines start to kind of show through the paper. So, and again, it really doesn't work that great on lace. So I would only be using that as a touch-up somewhere. The other thing is another kind of glue that I am going to be using. Now, this is by Paper Studio. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, the Paper Studio. This is Hobby Lobby. I don't know if you have those in your state or in your countries. But any liquid glue, okay, that's kind of thin, just like regular, I won't say school glue. The thing I like about this is it's a little bit thinner. It's not super thick, and normally that's what I like about the art glitter glue, is that it does dry quickly. But since we're going to be lining the inside in particular, we need some time to be able to get it to fit in here, and we need a little bit of time and that gluiness that to be able to slide and move it around. Glue sticks, especially this wonderful Scotch Create, man, it sticks. You have to really peel it back up. You don't have a lot of wiggle room. Same with the art glitter glue. It dries very, very fast. So I like this. This is just, but like I said, any Elmer's clear school glue, anything like that should work, as long as it allows you to kind of wiggle things around and fit them in. You're going to need Now I have, of course, 2 pairs of scissors. We're dealing with lace. So I have my fabric scissors and, of course, my paper scissors. Any sewer or quilter will know and tell you, don't use your fabric scissors to cut the paper. Paper really dulls your blade down. And that's one thing with fabric scissors, is you want them to always be as sharp as possible. So I only am going to be using these on the lace. Regular scissors don't cut very well on any type of material or lace. It'll leave it very frayed and that. So if you have them, great. If not, work with what you have. And then, of course, I have my wet wipes readily available, because especially when we're putting the paper in here, your hands are going to get glue on them, and then you don't want to get that all over everything else as well. So I have those readily available. And then when we get to the lacing and stuff like that, we'll go, oh, and a pencil. Definitely need a pencil. Okay, I think that pretty much covers supplies for at least the first part. Oh, one other thing. I use on some of my other journaling stuff, not too often though, but I definitely want to use it on this. You know, you don't want to go through all this effort and time and make something so beautiful that, oh, after a couple openings, you know, like this and that, and, you know, shoving things in and out, that, now if you're wrapping the lace around it, not as big a problem, right? But constant use of this, and same in your junk journals, the paper will break down. That's why, a little tip here on the scoring. Sometimes there's a saying, if you don't know it, it is, make the valley into a mountain. Now, is it going to be a dramatic thing if you don't? No, but there's a reason why they say that. Where you score into, you're breaking fibers in the paper. So you want to turn, I'm going to give you an example here. This is my scored area, right? I would want to turn and make that into a mountain, because those fibers have already been broken down. If I don't, and I turn it the opposite way, now I'm breaking the fibers down on this side too, and this is more likely to tear at a certain point, especially with the weight of the lace, okay? So there's a product, it's called Tyvek, and you may have somewhat be familiar with it and not even realize it. If you've ever gone through and see houses being built, and you'll see before they put the siding or brick on, you'll see it's wrapped with, and there's big word Tyvek all over it. That's the type of material that it is. I ended up buying myself just a box at Office Depot, so any office supply store should have these envelopes. You may luck out and get some in the mail periodically. Save them, use them. But this, these envelopes, I'll just take one out so you can actually see. Okay, you can kind of see where they got like fibers. These are made, they're lightweight, extra strong material, is moisture, tear, and puncture resistant. These, I can sit here and try my darnest, I'm just going to put it down here, to tear and tear and tear, and this is not going to, even where the fold is, see, I'm really pulling on it, it's not going to break down, right? So, we are going to do the outside and the flap on the outside. Now, if you're not going to decorate the outside, I would strongly suggest, when I say decorate, I mean with pattern paper, okay? that you try to do the inside, which is going to be tough, to do the inside, sides, and bottom, and the flap, okay, before you put your pattern paper in. But you, so you may want to stick around and see me do that, but I'm going to be doing it on the outside. So if you have this, great. If you don't worry about it, but you may want to get yourself some for the future if you're going to do these type of projects. And like I said, that you don't, have to have a whole box of it. I don't know if you can buy single sheets of it. You might be able to get a smaller size box at Walmart or somewhere like that. Okay, so we're going to do the inside first, which is here. And again, like I said, there's no measuring involved. For that, I'm going to use this paper. And is there a design? Yeah. It's this way. Okay. So on this page, this goes down. All right. So what you're going to do, and again, this is just because I'm using 8 by 8. If you're using 12 by 12 or 8.5 by 11, you don't have to, you can put your whole envelope on it. Now, see how it just comes up a little bit short here? I'm sorry. I really hate that light going there. It comes up just a little bit shy of making it, okay? So, that's why I'm going to do it in 2 sections, which we have to end up cutting for this anyway. If you don't cut here and space it a little bit away from the fold, it's going to bulk up when you go to fold it, and it won't close properly, and then it gets like all kind of bulked up. I can't think of a better word for it. It buckles, in other words, okay? The thing when you do this, you have to think, okay, what way am I putting my paper? So, let's deal with first the back. So this back piece, flap in back of the inside of the envelope, you want your pattern paper face up, okay? So that's real easy to do. Now, one thing I'm going to mention is we don't really want it the total width of the envelope, because we know going inside it's going to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to accommodate for that just a little bit now and maybe save myself some additional cutting, okay? So I figure if I go in about that far, that should accommodate for both sides. And down here at the bottom. Now, here again, you're going to come up and you're going to do it just a little bit, not right up to the line. I wouldn't even go up this far and lay it but to this, right? I want it to be a little bit less than that. So what I'm going to do, make sure I grab my vintage photo and not my black. Yeah, okay. Because this line's going to be seen anyway. Okay. And by the way, I am an inker. Not everyone inks. It's your personal preference. But sometimes, like in this situation, it makes it a lot easier to see where your line is. Okay. Okay. So you see where your line is here. So when you're going to put your paper in, you don't want to butt it right up to here, because you're going to also have paper here, and it's going to be a little thick, okay? So we always want to come just a little bit away, and I don't know if you can see that. Try to bring it in a little bit. you know, doesn't have to be a lot, but just about a smidge, okay? Maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, if you can see that. Hopefully that comes through. Okay, so this is the way it was. So I'm going to, again, just because I know and save myself some trimming time, I'm going to just about a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, on both the top and the bottom. Now the nice thing is, if you come up a little bit short on the bottom, which we could do, I could do this and just be that short on the bottom on the inside. No one's really gonna see that, right? Maybe we should just do that. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay. No, let's not. Let's just do it the proper way. Okay. Sorry. If you don't care that it goes all the way to the bottom, you certainly can squeeze that out of an 8x8. But I'm going to show you an alternative way, because you may, again, working with scraps, you may be working with pieces that aren't the full size, and I want to just be able to show you how you can do it. All right, so here I'm going to take my pencil, and this is why there's no measuring. No matter what size your envelope is, this is going to work. Okay, that's the inside, this piece here. I don't have enough here to do that, but that's okay. My other piece, right here, this is where it gets a little tricky. I know, again, for my inside, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this. I'm going to show you why in a minute. You want this not to be a really tight fit. Only because when you go to glue it in, if it's really tight, it's going to be hard for you to get it in there without getting glue all over the place. And your first piece isn't too bad unless you get it on the other side, and then it's going to get glue and stick to your paper, and it's not going to be as pretty. Okay, so let's test it, see if I have to trim anything more out of it.